As crafters, we always seem to have leftovers, be it extra dyes, background scraps, or little pieces left behind after trimming larger images. Today I'm going to show you how to turn one of those leftover pieces into a clean and simple Christmas card. I'll be using a few absolutely gorgeous, sparkly word die cuts that were saved from a previous project. Let's get started. Now, if you've watched some of my previous videos or if you follow me on Instagram, you already know how much I love this Merry cover plate die by Simon Stamp. I have used it in so many different projects and I'm completely obsessed with it. This is an A2 size die that creates a gorgeous word backdrop with that beautiful frame. Now, while I may have already used up all the frames from this die, I did save some of the leftover pieces, knowing they'd be perfect for a future project. So here we are. Today I'll be using these absolutely beautiful letters cut from gold glitter cardstock by Your Paper Insider to create a bold sentiment that doubles as our focal point. You could definitely puzzle those sentiments back into an A2 size panel using the frame die cut, but I decided to do something a little different, something I usually don't do, and create a slimline card instead. Now, while I absolutely love my A2 cards, I felt that these words would really shine on a larger card. Initially, I thought of doing an A7 size, but later on, I decided that I also want these letters to be nice and straight. That's why a slimline design felt like a perfect choice for this project. Now, to create a slimline card base, you'll need a panel that measures 8.5 by 7 inches and you have to score it at 3.5 inches. I cut my card base from this gorgeous baby pink cardstock. For my card front, I added a white panel that's cut slightly smaller than the base, allowing the soft pink border to peek through around the edges. You could absolutely take this background in so many different directions. You could either add texture with embossing, bring in some snowflake stencils, or even create a soft blended ink background. All of those options would look beautiful here. However, for this card, I really wanted to keep the design super clean and simple. I chose to stick with a plain white card base so the focus stays entirely on that stunning gold glitter cardstock spelling out the word Merry. Now, before I permanently adhere anything on the card front, I took a little extra time to arrange and rearrange the letters, making sure each one fit perfectly and lined up just straight. Now, this step really helps ensure the final design looks balanced and polished before committing everything in place. I decided to add a little bit of lift to the letters. You could definitely achieve this by adding foam tape behind each one, but since this video is all about using your die cut scraps, I took a different approach. I had a few of the same letters die cut from white cardstock, and well, I layered those underneath each of those glitter letters. This not only adds extra dimension, but it is also a great way to put those leftover die cuts to good use while keeping the card design nice and clean. Now I layered up each of those letters using some liquid glue. Now here you can see the difference between a stack letter and a single layer letter. At first glance, the difference may seem subtle, but once the card is finished, that extra layering really adds up a noticeable yet refined lift to each of those letters. I went ahead and continued building up the rest of the letters. This step didn't take very long since the letters themselves are nice and thick and they have a bold shape, which makes stacking them up really easy. I simply applied a small amount of barely art glue to each letter and layered them directly on top of one another, creating that extra bit of dimension. Well, before I move on, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below how you like to add dimension to your projects. Do you enjoy using foam tape, stacking die cuts like this one, or do you prefer keeping your cards clean, simple, and with just a single layer? Now that all of the letters are layered up, we can start adding them onto our card front. But before doing that, I wanted to stamp a sub-sentiment, which is the word Christmas. So together, this will read Merry Christmas. Now for this, I chose a stamp set which had a slightly more scripty font. For that, I'll be using the Christmas sentiment from the Peaceful Trees stamp set. Now, since the stamp already includes the word Merry, we will need to do a bit of masking here. You could also go the stamp surgery route and cut the word Merry off entirely, but I personally like keeping the stamps intact and simply masking out the part that we don't need. Now, normally I would reach out for my Altenew stamp wheel for any kind of stamping, but because this is a larger panel, I decided to pull out my Tim Holtz stamp platform. Now, this is an older one, and I'm not sure if it's still available, but it's one of my favorites and something I use time and time again. Now, coming back to the card, I placed my panel onto the stamp platform and added the grid transparency sheet on top to help with the alignment of the sentiment. From there, I arranged the word Merry and positioned my Merry Christmas stamp exactly where I wanted it to be before moving on to the stamping. I masked off the word Merry using some post it tape and then stamped just the word Christmas with VersaFine Onyx blacking. Now, it's very important to remove your masking tape or any kind of mask that you've used before stamping your sentiment onto your card panel. I was really happy with the placement of the sentiment and absolutely love how elegant and beautiful this font looks on the card. Now that the sub sentiment is in place, all that's left to do is arrange each of those die cut letters onto the panel. To give the card a bit more drama and visual interest, I decided to deviate from placing the letters in a perfectly straight line. Instead, I staggered them slightly, which creates a playful dynamic effect across the card front. Now, this little shift in alignment adds movement to the design and makes the sentiment feel more lively and engaging. As I glued each letter in place, I took care to keep them secure while maintaining that subtle variation in the positions. The layering combined with that slight stagger really helps the letters stand out, giving the card a dimensional and eye catching look without feeling too busy. It's a simple trick, but it makes a big difference in the overall impact of the design. Again, I like to use reverse tweezers to hold each of those letters because that gives a lot more control while I place them on my card front. And I'll again use my barely art glue for each of those letters. If you want to add more dimension, you could definitely go on and add foam tape to each of those letters individually. I added foam tape to the back of the panel and adhered it to my slimline card base, giving it a nice lift and dimension. Even though I wanted to keep this card super clean and simple, I felt it still needed a bit of sparkle to really bring it to life. Now, instead of using the usual gems and sequences, I reached out for the Sparkling Poinsettia Sprinkle Mix by Cat Scrappiness. These are very subtle floral sequences, not overly bold, but they do add just the right touch of festive shimmer to your card. Now, these are actually clay sequences, so they won't add any shine or sparkle, but yes, they do add that festive magic to your card front. Now, I placed one poinsettia on each of those letters, which adds that delicate sparkle without overwhelming the design. And with that final touch, our card is complete. It's sweet, elegant, and festive, with just the right amount of shine to make it special. I love that this card was almost entirely made from leftover die cuts and a very few simple supplies. We just added a simple sentiment and some beautiful poinsettias on each of those letters. I love how that bold glitter letters really pop against the white backgrounds, and those subtle poinsettia sequences just add the right touch of sparkle and dimension to our card. Well, I did add three dots at the end of the word Christmas, which I thought completed the card. Now, this project is a great reminder that even small scraps and leftover pieces can be transformed into something beautiful and special. I hope this inspires you to look at your own die cut scraps in new way and create something magical for the holidays. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching today's video. I will leave links to all the supplies that I used to create this card project. Please note that all of these links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I'll get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe.